Thanks, Michelle, and good morning and good afternoon to everyone. As Michelle said, I'm Nancy Pullen-Sufert. I'm with the National Center for Safe Routes to School, which is the Federal Highway Administration's clearinghouse for the Federal Safe Routes to School program. And I'm so glad to be here. On behalf of the National Center, it's really my pleasure to share the virtual stage with our two 2011 Oberstar Safe Routes to School Award winners that you're going to hear from today. This was the 5th year of the award being given, and the first time that the judging panel felt that there were two equally exemplary programs and thus gave 2 awards for the same year. Omro Middle School and Heatherwood Elementary have both made some remarkable achievements that you're going to hear about. Representatives from the National Center got to visit both of the schools to present the awards, and were really impressed and inspired by the energy and the creativity that they saw on display. So I think you're really going to enjoy hearing their stories. My job today is to just tell you briefly a little bit about the background of the award and let you know about the chance to apply for the 2012 award. The Safe Routes to School Award is named for James L. Oberstar, the former chairman of the House Transportation and Infrastructure Committee and former U.S. Representative Minnesota's 8th Congressional District. And it was really named for him in order to honor his dedication to American school children as the leader for the establishment of the Federal Safe Routes to School program. He was sort of the leader, the champion for the federal program. The award was really established for a variety of reasons, one of which is to share the stories and achievements of some really inspiring Safe Routes to School programs. So when we think about advancing the state of the practice for Safe Routes to School, being able to hold up examples like Omro Middle School and Heatherwood Elementary are a vital part of that. So I'm also glad to announce that the tradition continues, and we've just opened our call for applications for the 2012 award. We're looking for applicants that represent outstanding achievement by a local Safe Routes to School program, specifically places that have improved safety and or increased the number of elementary or middle school students who walk and bicycle to school. So there are a couple different eligibility requirements that I want to tell you about briefly. The first is that the application has to be for a Safe Routes to School program that's currently in place, and that program needs to have benefited from federal Safe Routes to School funds. This might be either because they've directly received federal funds from a state DOT Safe Routes program, and or they've received a program from a state-sponsored, federally funded Safe Routes to School resource center. So again, one that's operated at the state level for activities like pedestrian safety education. Or a variety of other things. And let me also just say, if you have questions about eligibility, then there's lots more information about what we're looking for in the application and the eligibility that's available through our website. And this is the front page of Safe Routes info. And in the left-hand corner over here, you'll see a link that says Call for Applications. And you can read a lot more there. And certainly if you have questions, you're also free to contact me. My contact information is right here, Nancy Pullen-Sufert. And as Michelle said, any questions that you have for the National Center, you can send through our website as well. A few other details about this. The application period closes on Thursday, June 28th. The judging panel selection will be announced in August. If you feel like your program would be a good fit, we strongly encourage you to apply. And again, if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. And on that, I'd like to hand it off to Melissa for now.
All right. Thank you, Nancy. Hello, everyone, and good afternoon. My name is Melissa Kramer-Badke, and I am with East Central Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission. I am the Regional Safe Routes to School Coordinator. Our commission serves 10 counties in northeast Wisconsin, and we work with over 100 schools on their local Safe Routes to School programs. We have been working with AMRO Safe Routes to School program since 2008, and today I'm excited to talk about their middle school bicycling program and how they have engaged students in bicycling regardless of their mode of travel to or from school. So I'll just give a brief overview about what I'm going to talk about, and then I'll kind of get into the meat of things here. First, I'll just give some background information about AMRO Middle School, and then we'll talk about their bike shop and their bike fleet that they have at the school. We'll also be talking about the bicycling events and activities that they utilize, they use their bike fleet with, and then looking to the future and how they're looking to even enhance their program a little bit more. There we go. So in this air photo, you'll see that AMRO Middle School is connected with AMRO High School. AMRO Middle School is located within the city of AMRO, which is a rural community that has a population of about 3,300 people and is located 11 miles west of Oshkosh in northeast Wisconsin. The middle school is situated on the far north side of the city with farmland less than a mile to its north, east, and west, as you can see here. Approximately 90% of the students district-wide are eligible for busing due to some hazardous conditions. They have to cross 3 major barriers, which include State Highway 21, State Highway 116, and the Fox River. And you can see the pedestrian bridge on this air photo. Only 42% of the students live within 2 miles of the school. And when student surveys were conducted in 2008, only approximately 2% of the students walked or biked to school. And there's approximately 300 students or so that attend AMRO Middle School, and the grades are 6th grade through 8th grade. So the mission of AMRO Middle School, and really the visionary people behind their program, are Paul Williams, the AMRO Middle School principal, and Joe Horvath, their physical education teacher. They really want bicycling to be part of their culture at their school, and they want to make it easy for students to own a bicycle and use it frequently. And they also want them to be able to maintain bicycles, and I'll talk a little bit about some of the ways Mr. Horvath or Joe, their physical education teacher, does that. But they believe that the common bicycle can play a major part in the development of healthy individuals, communities, and the planet. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is AMRO Middle School Bike Shop. And in this picture, you'll see actually Joe Horvath, he's in the green right there, helping some students and instructing them on how to do some basic maintenance on bicycles. But the bicycle shop is located in an equipment room adjacent to their gymnasium. It started off as a shop in a classroom that wasn't being used, but then in the future they ended up using it, and they kind of got kicked out of there per se, and so they moved into this equipment room. And they have 4 fully tooled workbenches. They're all color-coded. All the tools are there for the students to use. They have a bike fleet, which is composed of about 60 bicycles now. Joe has acquired bicycles by using garage sales, finding them at garage sales. The AMRO Police Department has also donated bicycles that they have found to their bike shop. They get public donations, so every Monday, students will go outside the gymnasium to see what bicycles had been donated for over the weekend. And then they also get a $1,500 yearly grant from a former student that attended AMRO Middle School. But as you can see here, everything is labeled. The workbenches are all color-coded with their tools and whatnot, and students are learning how to do basic bicycle maintenance by their Young Mechanics program. Their Young Mechanics programs are about 6 to 10 student participants. Sometimes Joe does have some former middle school students that go on to high school that they come back and they help teach some of the middle school students some of the basic maintenance. Students have the ability to work in the bike shop after school during noon recess and study hall with teacher approval. All their coursework must be completed prior to working in there. They can work on their own bicycles. They can work on bicycles from the bike fleet or perform tune-ups brought in on bicycles brought in from the general public. And as you can see up here in the far right picture, Joe has everything labeled from brake handles to derailleurs. These are all parts that they had taken apart from bikes that could no longer be used. So everything is pretty much recycled. There may be some tools or parts that had been bought, but for the most part, if they can recycle something, they do. And so that's something that's very unique. And here you'll see in the hallway some bikes that had been worked on by some students. I'm going to go back one more slide. Let's see. One more unique thing about the Young Mechanics program, and I was talking to Joe last week about a few things, and he said one technique that he's kind of learned throughout the years is to teach one student how to do one thing. So if you want, if there needs to be some brakes adjusted, he teaches one student how to do that, and then that student teaches the rest of the students at the bike shop how to do that. So just something to keep in mind if you're looking to develop a bike shop. The young mechanics are able to earn bike bucks when they work in the bike shop. So at a rate of 5 bike bucks for every half an hour of service, they receive those. And bike bucks can be redeemed for new parts, tires, and even sale bikes at a rate of 10 bike bucks for $1. And in this picture here, you'll see these are some students taking a look at the donations that had been made over a weekend at Umbro Middle School. And there's quite a variety. And like I said, if some of the bikes are now, they cannot be salvaged, they do just take down the parts off of that, and then they use those to fix other bikes. I also mentioned that in the bike shop, they do have bike sales, and they have a big bike sale held every spring, and all the proceeds from those bike sales go back to purchase new tools, parts, tires, and also to fund their educational cyclocross course as well. They've received funding from other sources, including the Kohler Foundation and the Dane County Bicycling Association for tools, workbenches, stools, and repair stands. So they do help try to raise some additional funds for some of these things. Now I'm just going to talk about a few of the Umbro Middle School bicycling events that utilize this bike fleet that I spoke about with the bike shop. So they have, I'll talk about their physical education classes, their noon hour program, the 8th grade bicycling field trip, which is always a hit with the students and the parent and adult chaperones, the 6th grade environmental retreat, the bicycle and fitness trail that they have on their campus, the cyclocross and bicycle skill course, and then they do have something new that they added last year, which was the annual faculty bike tour. So here in this slide, you'll see a few pictures of some students having biking to school, and then on the lower picture, you'll see them. The students are using a bicycle blender, which was rented from the Regional Safe Routes to School program. And the student with the black jacket, he actually lives on a farm. So he bikes 7 miles from his farm or his house into school and then bikes back. And so that's just another thing to keep in mind with Umbro, is that there's a lot of farmland, and a lot of these students do have to bike quite a ways to get to and from school. The 8th grade bicycling field trip, or the Bike Junto, is held every year with the whole entire 8th grade class. It is a fantastic time. It's approximately 30 miles, and it depends on how many times the groups get lost. We always have adult chaperones that ride with the students, and the parents the chaperones always have maps, and each of the teams gets clues to their next station. And so Joe always tells the chaperones, let them ride 1 or 2 miles, and then, tell them maybe they need to look at their clue again to see if they're on the right track. So teams of 8 to 9 students are sent out with chaperones at 9-minute intervals with clues to their first destination. So prior to this bicycle field trip, Joe walks through all of the 8th grade students with a bicycle safety education in their PE class for 2 weeks. So the first thing that these teams have to do is they have to do a bicycle safety quiz. And they have a scorecard. Each of the teams has a scorecard, and they get points based on how they do as a team on this quiz. Then the second thing they have to do right off the bat is ride their bike or drive their bike down to the local, the first station, which has a local law enforcement officer who checks to see how they are riding. Did they look over their shoulder? Did they do a complete stop at the stop sign? That law enforcement officer will give them a score as a team, and then they get a snack and some water. And so it's a great way to get some students engaged. So they go throughout the day. They attend all of these stations, which are about 2 to 3 miles apart. And when they get to these stations, they have to solve various programs or riddles and complete certain tasks. So maybe at the next station there is a math teacher who has a math problem that they have to solve. Or at the in this picture on the lower right-hand corner, you'll see that there is some team building activities that they have to do, and they get a score. And so all of these teams then get scores throughout the day. They end their bicycling field trip by going to one of their old schools that's no longer being used and has a picnic, and then they proceed to go back to school. They have prizes for every student, so all the students get raffle tickets. The team with the highest score gets additional raffle tickets, and then they always have an outfitted bike as the top prize for their bike field trip. And it's really a lot of fun. I have gone on that field trip, and one of the unique things that I noticed is that kids don't think they can go that far. They don't. We were biking 5 miles, and the one student I was riding with said, you know, I didn't think I could bike this far, but we took a lot of breaks. There was always water and food at every stop, and that was one of the great things about that. So the next is the 8th grade environmental retreat. So each September, the entire 6th grade participates, and they attend a 3-day, 2-night retreat at Camp Lucerne, which is in Waushara County, just west of Omro. So students here are instructed about road riding techniques along with single-track off-road riding. And bicycles from the bike shop are also used. This is really unique because in Waushara County, Omro is very flat, a lot of farmland, very flat, not a lot of hills. So when you go out to Waushara County, there's a few hills. And this is really the first time that a lot of students are able to ride on the road and practice those techniques that they have learned. If any of you have ever met Joe or Paul Williams, you'll know that the bicycle fitness trail is the one thing that they always talk about and they always speak with so much pride about. It's a 2.2-mile campus trail, which is on crushed limestone throughout their entire campus. This is something that has been developed entirely by donations. And it first started off with Paul and Joe just taking the school painter and painting a line in the grass as to where they wanted it to go. And then Paul has always talked about when he called a local construction company looking for donations for materials, and they're like, oh yeah, we can do that. So he gets off the phone, and then another local construction company, a rival one, calls him and says, hey, we want to help donate. We have some materials. What can we do? And Joe's like, well, Paul's like, we already have materials. Could you donate some equipment? So this trail is built entirely by volunteers and donations and grants that had been given to them. And when they first did the limestone, the crushed limestone, and they laid that down, Joe and Paul always talk about that Saturday morning they had equipment just lined up, and they had all these volunteers from the community, from the city of Omro, that helped build this. And so not only is this utilized by the school, but it's also utilized by the community. At any time you will see community members riding out there during school time and whatnot. And it's just a great facility that they have. They have done some enhancements to it. Since then, they've added some exercise stations, a disc golf course, and they have benches. It also meanders through their school forest. And over $60,000 has been invested, which has either been donated or secured through a series of small grants, which is truly incredible. So here you'll see some pictures of some students that have been, that ride during gym class, and they'll be able to take the bikes from the bike fleet and go out and go for a ride. One other enhancement to their bike trail that they have on campus is their cyclocross course. This is something new that they have added. It's a 3/4 of a mile cyclocross course on the school property. And Joe uses this during physical education classes. His students will usually do one lap of the cyclocross and then do a lap of part of the trail. It's really a great way for kids to be active, and the students have a ton of fun going over the various obstacles, and sometimes they have to get off their bike to do so. They did have to add a little bit of terrain. As I mentioned before, Amro is pretty flat, so they did have to add some of that terrain. The cyclocross racing has been, an introduction has been offered during physical education classes, and then also Career and Hobby Day each May. And Joe has a vision that in the future there could be an after-school racing program. So here in the lower left, you'll see students picking up their bikes to get over those barriers or obstacles. And then here on the right-hand side, you'll see how they take another lap around the trail. So it's a great way for students to become engaged. And just keep in mind that the majority of the students that attend the school are bused to school. And so this is one way to engage them in bicycling during the school day. They do have a bicycle train and a Walking Wednesday program that they've kicked off in 2010. This picture you see up in the corner is actually their first walking school bus, and that is over the pedestrian bridge over the Fox River, which has been a bit of an obstacle a little bit. And so what they've done is across the city, they have various pickup points or drop-off points where parents can drop off their children to walk to school. And there are teachers and faculty members there at each of these locations. And then they all walk together, and they all meet up at this pedestrian bridge and walk over together. So it's a great way for the staff to be involved, but also it reduces that congestion in the front of the school during drop-off time. And so you'll see throughout the city they have the Safe Routes to School signs, which were secured through a National Center Safe Routes to School mini grant. They did have to work with the Department of Transportation here in Wisconsin as to where they could place those, particularly on the state highways, just because of some of the regulations for that. But we work with a lot of the neighboring communities, and they're like, hey, we want these signs in our area. So it's something that's very recognized in the community and across our region. Here are a few pictures of their bicycle trains that they've had. The one on the bottom is actually headed towards our elementary school, and so it's always a lot of fun to get them engaged. And the staff and the faculty have really been role models at Amro Middle School as well for the students. They do participate. It's not, it's really something that the students look for, is having the teachers and the faculty to be there and be at these types of events with the walking school bus and the cycle train. So looking ahead, looking to the future, they were awarded a Safe Routes to School grant from the Department of Transportation in October of 2010 to improve some crosswalk signs and signals at State Highway 21 and 116. There was some sidewalk construction to connect their HB Patch Elementary School, which is directly to the south of State Highway 21, to the existing sidewalk network, and then also doing some enhancements to the bicycle education and cyclocross course. However, one of the major components of their grant was the construction of a new covered bicycle shelter or storage facility. And this will be the future home of the bike shop that they currently have. The grant was written only for the materials to build the shop, and it will be built entirely by community volunteers, which is something that is really unique to Amro, and If you ever talk to Joe and Paul, they always mention the AMRO way and how engaged the community is on in their programs, in their school, and they're always there to help. It's usually Joe or Paul that gives a call, and there's volunteers there to come over and do this. So here is what the planned covered bicycle shelter and storage facility will look like. It will be outfitted with already 4 of the workbenches that they currently have, and then adding a few more. One of the things that when we did their Safe Routes to School plan in 2008, students said one of their major concerns was leaving their bicycle out when it rains. And so this will have a covered, sheltered area for their bicycles so they won't be wet during that time. One thing I forgot to mention is that, in Wisconsin we do have a lot of snow during the winter. Mostly this winter was the exception. And so the young mechanics were learning how to do studded tires on their bicycles as well as part of the bike shop. And then also as another little thing, there were a few students that did ride throughout the entire winter. And so every time for different different degree levels that Joe had, they would get different color zip ties, and it was more of like bragging rights, like who could ride in the coldest weather. So but this is their new bike shop that they're going to be building this summer. It's very exciting. It'll give them more room, and they're hoping to enhance their program even further. Their bike shop will be located right on the AMRO School District campus here. It'll be right over here where the star is, and over by the tennis court. So right outside the door will be the trail and the school forest. You can see in this lower right-hand picture, they're starting a school garden program as part of that. And Joe's wife is actually in charge of the school garden program. So in the background, you see these bicycles being recycled and with flower planters in them as well. And I just wanted to talk about the AMRO way a little bit. I talk to Joe a lot, and we compare notes, and we talk about, what has made their program such a success. And he said that everybody wants to make a difference, so make it easy for them. So when those volunteers arrived on that Saturday to help build that trail, what they did is they had jobs specifically set up and ready to go. They knew the teams knew exactly what they were going to be doing, and so they had everything ready for them to go. He always says, keep it simple, start small, and then build it a little bit bigger. But this is really their bike shop website, and it's a great resource. A lot of the students have a lot of fun in here after school and their program, and it's really a great way for them to learn basic bicycle maintenance. So here are the young mechanics for the year. Some of them aren't pictured there, but they do they do have a lot of fun, and they, we go as staff, we go out there and we talk to the young mechanics, and they end up teaching us a few things or a few new little tricks that we didn't think of prior to that. And they really do have a lot of fun fixing up the bike. So the AMRO way is something that's really unique, and the city and the community have really embraced the school district and the school here in AMRO. So there's my contact information and Joe's contact information as well. Unfortunately, he couldn't be here today. So if you have questions, please let us know. And I know that we will be taking questions at the end of the webinar. But for right now, I am going to turn it over to Amy.
All right, so let's get our screen going here. So we probably want to get our presentation up and going. And can you see us? All right, well, we'll get started. So my name is Amy Thompson, and I'm a volunteer parent coordinator for Safe Routes to School at Heatherwood Elementary in Boulder, Colorado. And I'm here with my husband, Chris. Say hi, Chris.
Hello.
And Chris is also one of the volunteers on our committee. And Chris and I have a kindergartner and a fifth grader at Heatherwood. And today we're going to give you a little background about Heatherwood's parent-led Safe Routes to School program. So we'll move ahead. So this is Heatherwood. We're just a very typical neighborhood suburban school. We have 375 students, preschool through 5th grade. And I'll go ahead, another slide. 90% of our students live within 2 miles of the school, yet in 2008 we discovered that not very many people were walking or biking to school. In fact, it was only 10% walking and 2% biking. We were very much a very typical car-centric school. So we decided to appeal to Safe Routes to School and get some help with infrastructure and also with education. And so we've implemented that in the past few years. And in 3 years, our school has increased walking and biking from 12% to 43%. So now this is what our bike racks look like. So how do we do this? The first thing we did is we organized Walk and Roll Week. So this is a week where children are encouraged to walk or bike to school all week. We serve goodies outside the school every morning, and we like to raffle off prizes. During our first Walk and Roll Week in the spring of 2009, we had 63% of our kids participate at least one day, and the most recent one, this past spring, we had 93%. So like I said, we have children fill out raffle tickets every day they walk and ride to school, and this is an example of the raffle tickets. And my little tip here is to put the teacher's name on the raffle ticket, on the pre-printed ticket, because we had a situation at our assembly where we were getting ready to give out the grand prize, and we pulled it out and we couldn't read the kid's name, so we had to have the teacher come up and read it, and so it's extremely helpful to have the teacher's names on there. One thing we started 2 years ago just to kind of freshen up Walk and Roll Week is we started doing theme days. So here's an example of a theme, Flare Your Ride. So here's some more Flare Your Ride. It's kind of the creativity going for the kids. Flare Your Scooter. Also, we're in Boulder, so that's the home of the University of Colorado Buffs, so we had a Go Buffs Day. Another theme was superheroes, so we saw lots of capes coming into school, some Batman. Another theme we did was helmet hair, kind of in making fun of sometimes helmets can make your hair look kind of crazy. So we had some kids come in with some crazy hairstyles, and one kind of fun thing is I noticed in the Hug and Go we had one child get out of his car but still with helmet hair. So some of these themes can be a way for children who can't walk and roll to still feel like they're part of the fun of the week. So some more crazy helmet hair. Then we also did crazy helmets, where kids, and you can see parents too, decorated their helmets. Another theme was rock and roll, walk and roll, and yes, that is our PTO president there, looking a little bit like David Bowie. And even aunts and grandmas get in on the action. Not all of our themes are silly. We also have some nice charitable themes. One was Pedal for a Cause, where we had students bring in food items for our local community food share. And we collected 260 pounds of food, and we delivered the food by bikes in Burley to our local food bank, which is about 5 miles away. Another charitable theme we had was called Rainbows of Hope, and you can see some rainbow socks here. And this was kind of a coin drive for the family of a very sick child that we have at Heatherwood, so it was really neat to see children bringing in the coins from their piggy banks, and we raised $650 for Kira. And this is Kira's little sister, Tess, who was riding in honor of her big sister and put her picture on her helmet. So another aspect of Walk and Roll Week is we always like to serve goodies in front of the school, and that is really where we kind of create community. It's kind of like a party. Everyone hangs out in the kitchen. Well, it's kind of the same thing here. So some of the things that we like to serve, we have muffins baked by moms, bagels donated from a local bagel shop, apples donated from an orchard, Rice Krispie treats. This is where we kind of push the limits of healthy snacks, but they're very popular, and they're donated from a local deli. Watermelon from the local grocery store. And this is what happens when we have this food out front and we have all these themes, is that people get to talking, and I think that walking and rolling really builds community, and that's how we're able to achieve these high numbers at Heatherwood. So then that leads to scenes like this, where you see moms getting together to go for a mountain bike ride after they drop the kids off. So some other ideas for Walk and Roll, just to get excitement up. We got some stickers donated from a local printing company, and we like to hand those out and just have that personal acknowledgement of like, hey, great job of walking and enrolling to school. We've also put up a sign for children to sign. Also sidewalk chalk, super easy and cheap to do. You can just put some great messages out there and build some excitement. On the Friday of Walk and Roll Week, we always like to do an early bus drop so that the bus riders can feel like they're part of the fun. And so they get to experience what it's like to walk to school, which is pretty awesome. At the end of the week, we always like to have an assembly, and we like to have it outdoors if possible. And we just get the children kind of pumped up about what they accomplished for the week and all the walking and rolling they did. We like to give away the raffled off prizes. We'll give away things like helmets, locks, bike lights, and a new bike as the grand prize. We also like to include teachers and staff in the prizes too, to acknowledge the contributions that they make to the week. We also give away the Golden Sneaker Trophy for the class that had the highest percentage of participation during Walk and Roll Week, and that is me presenting it to fourth grade teacher, Ms. Carlson, whose class averaged 90% for the whole week of walking and rolling. And this is a close-up of the golden sneaker. It's a size 13 shoe from our former PE teacher that we spray painted gold. And we like to keep the energy of Walk and Roll Week up by awarding it for several weeks after Walk and Roll Week. Another way to keep the momentum going is we give prizes to children for 5, 30, and 100 days of walking and rolling, and those are a few of our prizes. And I also did a wall in the cafeteria, kind of a bar graph, of photos of kids that reached 100 days, and the teachers always appreciate it when we can kind of incorporate math and graphs into to our walk and roll activities. So I think they like this bar graph format. And you can see the second grades kind of rallying it. Also, every fall we like to host a bike rodeo at Heatherwood where children can practice their bike handling skills. And we also have a pancake breakfast, and we make the dads be in charge of cooking the pancakes. So this is just a chance for children of all skill levels to practice their bike handling skills. We typically have about 100 kids do the course. It's on usually on a Sunday morning, and they never just do it once. They do it over and over and over. And here's the big highlight of the bike rodeo. It's the teeter-totter, and it's a big confidence booster. The kids really love it. And as one fifth grader said, I didn't know the bike rodeo was going to be so cool this year. So that's been a big, fun addition to the rodeo. So at Heatherwood, we also like to include skateboarders and walking and rolling. So this year we invited a couple professional skateboarders to do a clinic as part of our bike rodeo. And so here are some of our students practicing some skills. And that kind of concludes some of our encouragement activities. Now, Chris is going to take over and talk about some of the safety and infrastructure issues we had to tackle at Heatherwood.
Good afternoon, everyone. Here we're looking at the kind of the district area of what our elementary school pulls from. Right above the legend on the bottom, you'll see a black box, Heatherwood Elementary. That's where our school is located. And as Amy pointed out, you know, the school distance really doesn't extend very much past a mile and a half, 2 miles. Vertical on this page, you'll see 75th Street. That bisects our community pretty much right in half. Half the students live on the east side and the other half live on the west side. And we took a survey about 4 years ago to determine why aren't people walking and biking to school. And hands down, no question about it, the survey came back 75th Street is a deterrent. So clearly we had to do something about that. And that's when we appealed to the Safe Route to Schools for a grant, and we got infrastructure changes in place to improve the crosswalk. Before the Safe Route to School crosswalk was in place, we had basically just white stripes on the pavement, and the crosswalk went nowhere. It just went right into a grassy area that didn't even line up with the road that it was intended to go to. Since then, here we are having our grand opening for the new crosswalk. Everyone's very excited for it because it really opens up the gates for the other community. So since then, here we put an island in the middle, which reduced the driving space, which intuitively slows the drivers down, also gives the students just one lane of traffic to deal with. But also, just as important, we worked with the county, and the county was able to take this road from a 45-mile-an-hour commuter corridor down to a 20-mile-an-hour school zone with flashers during pickup and drop-off of school times. So between the deal with one lane at a time, reduce speeds, and an improved crosswalk, and with signage, it's really gives a sense of a lot greater sense of safety of crossing, and really no one has complained about this new crosswalk. Everyone loves it. As part of that crosswalk, we also got a sidewalk, which we never had before, and then a bike lane in addition to it. Now, in addition to getting students from that other half of the district over to our school, we noticed that as we got more and more walkers and bikers, we really had to focus on safety around the school because probably with many schools, chaos takes place there during pickup and drop-off. So we had some additional infrastructure in place, improved crosswalks, bump outs. We had some additional signage to encourage what's right and what's wrong. And then we also kind of changed the whole flow of how traffic goes around the school. Originally, we had buses dropping off right in front of the school where everyone's dropping their kids off, where everyone's coming in from walking and biking. So we moved the buses over to the other side of the school. We also implemented a hug and go to kind of keep cars coming in and flowing out and doing it all in a safe manner. We also focused on where you can and cannot park to prevent and eliminate jaywalking and to focus on people using the crosswalk. And we used lots of cones. It's a very, in terms of what can I do for my school when we don't have much budget, the power of an orange cone is remarkable, we learned. And here you can see some orange cones planted on one side of the street to discourage parking. And then we have orange cones here on another side of the street to create a virtual sidewalk, because here we have so many kids coming in with, whether they're with burleys or just the quantity of them. The sidewalk, which had a lot of overgrowth on it, couldn't handle the kids themselves, so we created a virtual sidewalk. We also used, you can say, robotic crossing guards. So here, we just have a crosswalk that's just white stripes on a pavement, but when you add that school crossing fluorescent sign, it makes a big difference. It makes a big difference to the traffic. It raises awareness that is a live crosswalk, and they do slow down and are more aware. And it helps gain confidence in those using the crosswalk that it's not just white stripes. It is an active, useful, safe crosswalk. So we do that on a handful of crosswalks around the school. Here's some additional signage to help educate and drivers on how the hug and go flows. And then we also implemented a safety patrol, which consists of many fifth graders. This safety patrol worked in manning the hug and go. Their job was to help kind of keep the cars flowing, pulling them up as far as possible, opening the doors for the cars, and getting the kids out, getting their backpacks, and letting the cars move on and flow through. So for those people who walking and biking is just not going to be capable for them in whatever reasons, at least for those who do walk and bike to school, we can create a safe zone possible for everyone around the school. We also had kind of some fun crosswalk campaigns we put up throughout the school to help encourage the kids to use the crosswalk and to use the crosswalk safely. That is one that's really not so much of a problem with kids, but when the kids start using it, then the adults will use it too, and everyone has a safer experience. So that concludes kind of the safety aspects that we had done outside the school and around the school. And here I'll pass it off to Amy and how she talks about the inclusiveness of the program.
All right, so I thought we'd finish up our presentation talking about the assisted cycling program that we did at Heatherwood. So last year I wrote a grant for one of the Safe Routes to School mini grants, and we decided that we would like to include the children with autism at Heatherwood in our district-wide Bike to School Day. So Heatherwood has an intensive learning center, kind of a unique program, and so we've got about 12 or so children with autism in that program. And if we thought that, if anyone really felt left out with Safe Routes to School, it might be this population. So we partnered with a nonprofit out of Denver called Assisted Cycling Tours to put on a special day. And so we worked with Bob Matter of Assisted Cycling Tours, and he brought out a fleet of specially outfitted tandems for our kids to try out. So we had a day after school, just a practice day, where we just got everyone kind of fitted to the tandems, and we practiced in the teacher's parking lot. So many of these children, I'd say most of them, had never been on a bike before, so this was a fun day just to get them into the experience of what it's like to be on a bike in a safe environment, just in the parking lot. So here's a close-up of one of the tandems. Some of them just have, the raised handlebars, but others have back support and seat belts. So a week or so later was the big day, the big district-wide Bike to School Day. So we had our riders meet at a local park, along with we had volunteers that were going to pilot the tandems, and then we also invited just friends and family and teachers. So we all met up at a local park that was about 4 or 5 blocks away from the school. And we also invited local celebrity rider Brandon Dwight, who owns Boulder Cycle Sports, to join us. He's a national cyclocross champion, and it was his shop that helped us also get some adult trikes for our program. And this is a picture of an adult trike. So this basically just takes the balance aspect out of cycling, so it makes it just a little bit easier, but there's still a lot of cause and effect thinking, so it's a great tool to use for children who aren't quite ready for a two-wheel bike. So this is the big day. So this is a dad and his son riding in on the tandem. And we also used a tag-along for a smaller child. This is a volunteer pilot with a student coming in on Bike to School Day. And we, like I said, we had teachers and family members. It was just a great event. Like I said, the ride was only 4 or 5 blocks long, so by the time we got to school, the kids were like, hey, they didn't really want to get off the bikes, and we had parents with tears in their eyes because it was just a beautiful experience to see these children experience just a normal part of childhood, riding a bike for the first time, and it was just very successful and quite lovely. So that afternoon at the Walk and Roll Assembly, we honored the children who biked in for the first time with this program and gave them medals, and it was just a really heartwarming experience to see the whole school cheering for these children. So that kind of wraps up our presentation about Heatherwood's Safe Routes to School program. I think Chris wanted to say a few words to sum it all up.
Yeah, I just want to keep it sum it up right in the end. What we did that really was successful, and that was keeping it fun, having a lot of creative solutions, a lot of variety of activities and themes, and including incentives. Not everything works for everybody, so keep on trying many different things. And as you saw, a lot of them were just fun, simple ideas that worked out. There's the safety aspect. There's the physical infrastructure of crosswalks and ramped curbs. And then there's the simple stuff of the power of orange and safety patrols. And one thing that can't be undermined is the fact of there's persistence and role models. Our safety patrols out there every single day. We have some parents riding out there every single day, and they're great role models for other parents to see how it can be done. And by having those role models out there, it actually reduces the amount of fear of being on the road, because obviously it works for the role model, so it can work for anybody. And then also having a program that's focused on inclusivity. So it's something for everybody. Walking, biking, skating, everyone can participate in it. And when everyone is involved, then the entire community can really stand behind it, and the power of possibilities is really lifted. So I'll let Amy finish it up, and thanks a lot.
All right, so I guess now we're ready to open it up for questions.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Amy and Chris, Melissa, and Nancy. That was a wonderful presentation. Just give me 1 second here, and I will post all of the speakers' contact information so folks can take that down while they are listening to our question and answers. There we go.
Okay, so Amy and Chris, since you guys are already warmed up, why don't I start with you? Some questions that came in while you were talking. One question is about your walk and roll your walk and roll week. Is that only once a year, or do you do that multiple times?
It's twice a year. We do it in the fall, usually like late September, and then again in the spring to kind of get kids back on their bikes from the cold winter and get them riding to school the rest of the year. So twice a year.
Okay, great. And that's another question that came in for you, Amy and Chris. And the question is, where does the money for the incentives come from? Is it local funds or just parents?
So that's an interesting question. So when we started our program, now that this school year is over, it's been 4 years ago, we did get an education encouragement grant from Safe Routes to School. I think it was something like $9,000. So we bought a lot of prizes with that money, but it was interesting. When I took over as the leader 2 years ago, that's when the grant expired. So I had to figure out a way to keep our program running and fun with no money. I didn't have any money to spend. So what we did, going through like the snacks, we appealed to all those local businesses to donate snacks, and the same with prizes. We've appealed to local bike shops, skate shops, and also even local manufacturers of like clothing, backpacks, things like that, to donate prizes. And we've been very successful in getting lots of prizes donated and keeping our program going with no money. And I kind of take pride in the fact that I don't charge any money to our PTO, that we just keep it going via donations.
That's great. Okay, so I believe this question will probably be for both you, Amy, Melissa, and Chris. Obviously, feel free to join in too, and Nancy, if you want to as well, but I think it might be more program specific. The question is, did either program run into any school district issues that needed to be solved, or were these run essentially independent of the school board and district input? Did you work a lot with the school board or the district, or?
Yeah, so it's kind of funny. One thing I didn't get into in the presentation, but it actually wasn't our idea at all to have Safe Routes to School come to Heatherwood. It was our district transportation department contacted us and said, you guys aren't doing very well, but you have got a pretty good setup. You guys should start a Safe Routes to School program. And so we just got a couple passionate parent volunteers together, and they did all the grant writing, and we got the program going. We also worked very closely with the HOA in order to make some of the infrastructure changes happen. And also, we're an unincorporated Boulder County. We're just outside the city limits, and so the county was very, very helpful to us in making a lot of the infrastructure changes.
Great. Melissa, do you have anything to add?
Sure. When UMRO kind of started with doing a Safe Routes to School action plan first initially, and that was primarily made up with representatives from the county, the city, local law enforcement, the school district, and then once that was completed and in a draft format, then they went to the school board to talk about what was going on. But through all of these events and the securing the grant funds and everything, Mr. Paul Williams has been in touch with the school board and had been working with them to let them know what was going on with regards to the Safe Routes to School program and that sort of thing. So the school board had been involved, maybe not as heavily as they could have been, but they did do a good job in supporting a lot of the initiatives that they had in that action plan that they did implement for UMRO at the school level.
Great. Okay, Melissa, now that I have you on the line, I'll keep going with you. We'll turn over to some questions about UMRO. Let's see. Here's one. How long has the program been going on?
Well, the regional Safe Routes to School program has been working with UMRO since 2008, but I believe Joe Horvath, the physical education teacher, had even been doing bicycle field trips and those sorts of things prior to that. I don't have an exact date on that, but Joe is just a very avid cyclist, and he has just incorporated his cycling and his passion for it into that school there. So,
yeah. And do you know, and you may not have the statistic, but do you know what the increase of walking and bicycling was at UMRO after the program was implemented? I know you mentioned that most of these kids don't really live in walking or cycling distance, but...
Right, correct. So they've seen an increase in cycling. I believe that was around 40% or so. Oh. But again, all of those students are exposed, so all of the entire 8th grade class is exposed to bicycling skills through their physical education classes for 2 weeks. So that's about 100 students that are engaged in bicycling, and then the 6th grade environmental retreat and using the cyclocross course. So the grades 6 through 8, regardless of their mode of travel, are engaged in bicycling in some form or fashion, especially during their physical education, if not the noon hour study hall times.
That's great. Okay, and then you may have kind of touched on this, but a lot of folks are kind of interested again in kind of another funding issue. How did the school get the bikes and the helmets and things like that? Could you go over that again?
Sure. Initially, the bikes were acquired through the Amro Police Department. They had a number of bikes that they had obtained throughout the year, and they usually just get donations. And Amro's program has received a lot of press lately, so they've been getting increased donations from people who just have bicycles in their garage that they no longer use, and this is just a way for them to donate them to a program that can be utilized. The helmets have also been acquired through donations and grant funding. The Regional Safe Routes to School program does provide the middle school with a certain number of helmets every year as part of Bike Safety Day or Bike to School Day incentives, and so they really just use their resources and mostly have been donated. I do believe that they have worked with a local law firm here, Habish and Rotier, that has also helped them secure some helmets as part of their program.
That's really interesting. Okay, a couple more for you, Melissa. Here's one that's kind of interesting. They're just wondering, have any other schools in the school district reached out to AMRO to try and replicate this program?
Not in the school district. So Amro School District has 2 elementary schools and 1 middle school, but what we're seeing across our region is more schools wanting to replicate this. So one school in particular, Ripon Middle School, is looking to try to replicate this at their middle school and work with their middle school students. We are seeing that across our region, which is really interesting to see. So we're working with Joe and Paul and then staff schools to try to replicate this in some form or fashion.
Oh, that's great. Okay, and Nancy, are you still with us?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, great. I believe this question is probably best suited for you. One person was just asking in regards to the Oberstar Award, can several schools apply for the award in a single application? I guess maybe they have a joint project or something like that.
Right, if they're all part of the same school district or the same Safe Routes to School program, yeah. We would just encourage the applicant to think about what's going to help make the strongest case, and if there are, specific achievements that are really for a specific school, then sometimes the overall application will be stronger if you just focus on that school. But, either way, if there are, program-level achievements or district-level achievements that they want to talk about and submit that way, that's great.
Okay, great. Okay, and we are right on 2 o'clock, so I'm just going to throw one more question. That'll be for both of our program speakers here. And this one, I'd just like you to kind of talk a little bit about the importance of the community collaboration for both of your successful events. The question was just, was there community collaboration? We've heard that there was, but just kind of curious to kind of hear your thoughts on that. So, Melissa, would you like to start?
Sure, that would be great. In Amro, when I talk to Joe and Paul, it's always the Amro way and how if they put out a call for volunteers, the community and the members of the city of Amro really come through for them. And it has really been integral to have the city work with the school district. They work with Winnebago County Health Department. They work with us as the Planning Commission. We have just a number of partners that work with Amro. But I have to say the volunteers there are just incredible. I mean, when they submitted that grant for materials only, I'm sure you don't want some, labor built into that. And they're like, no, we'll put it all out and we'll be able to get the volunteers to build it. And so that's exactly what they're doing. Hopefully they'll be moving forward with their project agreement with the Department of Transportation, and they'll purchase the materials. But again, that community and that ownership is so important, and I think that really just helps their program that much more. And so I can't say enough about their community and how they really have that volunteer base that really helps them bring that Safe Routes to School program to another level.
Wonderful. Thank you. And Amy?
Yeah, like I kind of touched on before, what community support was absolutely vital to us, whether it was from the school district encouraging us to even start a Safe Routes to School program, to Boulder County helping us with all the safety issues, like we kind of presented to them, well, these are our problems, and they kind of helped us with solutions. And then also just from running our program, we had so many local businesses that support us with snacks and with prizes, even partnering with assisted cycling tours out of Denver. Our program for children with autism would not have happened without their support. Our relationship with the food bank and having children, or having food to there for our big donation, and we also have children volunteers that once a month there, and they ride their bikes. So community involvement has been absolutely essential. We've also incorporated the local sheriff's department in enforcing safety around our school, and the fire department has done some crosswalk duty for us and come to our pancake breakfast. So, yeah, you can't get enough community support, and it's very vital to the program.
Wonderful. Thank you. And Nancy, would you like to add anything before we close up?
Nope. I know
that one was pretty program specific. But
it was our pleasure to get to recognize the amazing programs at both of these schools, and we look forward to learning about other programs with the 2012 application.
Wonderful. And again, I would like to thank all of our speakers, Nancy and Amy, Chris, and Melissa. This was a wonderful presentation. You really do have some amazing programs, so thank you for sharing that with us. And just to remind all of our attendees that our next webinar is actually going to be coming up quickly. We're going to be entering an exciting period for the next few months where we're going to be offering 2 webinars per month. Our first one is coming up on June 14th, and it's going to be about slowing drivers down. So keep your eyes peeled. That email should be going out, I believe, later today or tomorrow. If you'd like to register for that, you can also go to the America Walks website and the National Center for Safe Routes to School website. Both of those sites are on your screen right now. And if you have any other questions about the webinars or upcoming programs or this program, feel free to contact me. Again, my name is Michelle Gully. My address is up there on the screen. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. And thank you again to our speakers. I hope everyone has a wonderful day. Goodbye.